I'm Don Shane. Welcome to Michigan Stadium. You can feel the electricity here as the greatest rivalry in the history of college football resumes today. Michigan and Ohio State with a whole lot at stake, and that's exactly the way both teams like it. Look from above, because for years when these two teams met in the Big Ten Championship and a trip to Pasadena was on the line. But not lately, with Penn State joining the Big Ten and Michigan having some tough years. But today, the world, according to Michigan and Ohio State, is back on its axis. John Cooper will try to get Ohio State fans off his back. He's been successful in every aspect of the Buckeyes program except when it comes to beating Michigan. And he hears about it from the critics all the time. For Lloyd Carr, a much different story. Since he took over for Gary Moeller, he's led the Wolverines to 2 straight upset victories. Those wins helped ease the pain of disappointing regular seasons. But today, his team is favored to win and will try to avoid the upset and cap a marvelous run from September up until now. You know, sometimes a Michigan player, an Ohio State player, might say something before this game that he regrets, that he shouldn't say. Sometimes it's inflammatory, sometimes it sounds a little cocky, and sometimes it can make him look real stupid, especially if his team loses. Back in 1986, Jim Harbaugh may have been the first to sound off to the media. He guaranteed a Michigan victory. Bo Schembechler couldn't believe what Harbaugh said. Well, all Jim did was throw for 261 yards and lead Michigan to a 26-24 victory.
Touchdown, Wolverines! The worst coach team I've ever seen in my life. Let's go!
Then in 1994, the heat was really on Ohio State coach John Cooper. Fans wanted him gone. Picking up on that theme, injured Michigan receiver Walter Smith said this.
We want to get Cooper fired. That's what I want to do. You know, we want to keep on beating him until he's no longer there.
That's all the Buckeyes needed to hear. Not only did Cooper not get fired, the Buckeyes won the game 22-6. It's the only time Cooper has defeated Michigan in his 9 tries at Ohio State.
He's disappeared.
Then came 1995. Buckeyes receiver Terry Glenn, considered one of the best in the nation, a first-round pick of the New England Patriots, opened his mouth and inserted his foot.
We should keep Michigan down here where they belong, just like the rest of them teams, and go up there and just keep their butt like we did everybody else.
That got the attention of the Michigan players, and they defeated the Buckeyes 31-23 and ruined their season. Had Ohio State beaten Michigan, they would have gone to the Rose Bowl. Which brings us to this year. After the Buckeyes beat Illinois last Saturday, receiver David Boston said, quote, "If our offense and defense are clicking, we should beat them by 2 to 3 touchdowns. We're going up there and upset them. I think we're better than Michigan." After Michigan's win at Wisconsin, Charles Woodson was asked to comment on what Boston said.
That's a strong statement, but I think if our offensive defense clicks, then we should win by 2 touchdowns. So, it'll be a great game. We know they'll come to play, but we'll be ready for them when they come up here.
But Boston wasn't done. He compared his teammate, Antoine Winfield, to Michigan's Heisman Trophy candidate Woodson himself. According to Boston, Winfield is, quote, as good as Woodson and certainly faster. The Michigan players had a little something to say about Boston's boasting.
Well, everybody has their own opinion. Some people just probably can't control their emotions, but some people will come out and publicly say how they feel. Some won't. Some will do their talking on the field. Some people show up and some don't.
Boston mentioned my name, so, I take it personal, and like I say, I'll see him on Saturday.
Well, how do the Michigan players and the Buckeyes feel about Boston's brash statements? You've heard some of that. How about these Buckeyes? How about these kids from down in Columbus? And what has John Cooper done this year a little bit differently to prepare for this football game? To fill us in on both of those issues, let's join our reporter in Columbus, David Thompson.
Just minutes after Ohio State's win over Illinois this past Saturday, the 4th-ranked Buckeyes turned their focus on the game, but were asked to turn their mouths off in the post-game interview room.
We can't comment. No comment. We can't talk about it because the coaches just told us not to in our meeting just then.
Not so for wideout David Boston. He dropped a bomb.
David is a grown man. I think he said what he feels, so he talked the talk. We got to walk the walk now, so we just said go out and have fun.
While the players circled the wagons in support of Boston's comments, the wagon master was caught up in the paradox of the pregame hype. Like most coaches, John Cooper believes talk is cheap, but in his paranoia of Michigan Week, Cooper is cutting off the public and media from attending senior tackle, a traditional ceremony during Michigan Week in which Buckeye seniors hit a tackling dummy one last time. And in light of Boston's predictions and similar comments made by Terry Glenn 2 years ago, Cooper is sticking his head in the sand.
What was your reaction to David Boston's comments?
I don't have any reaction to that.
Doesn't affect you either way?
I don't want to talk about it.
Some players were asked if Cooper's denial adds to the perception that the Buckeyes have a mental block in the game.
We don't get into the, we haven't beat them in such and such years and all this and that. We're going to go out there and win this game. It's a new team. It's a new game every year. And, whoever goes out there and plays the best game is going to win the game.
And just what is the key for Ohio State to win the ball game?
Most times in this game, the team that runs the ball well usually wins. So we're concerned with going out and running the football, but we're going to throw it too, because that is one of our strengths.
And Jackson hopes Ohio State's balanced scoring attack will stay intact on Saturday. OSU has averaged more than 400 yards per game since losing to Penn State in mid-October. The Bucks have thrown for 200 yards or more in 4 of those games, while running for 200 yards or more in 3. And as talented a defensive player as Charles Woodson is, the Buckeyes say don't expect one player to neutralize their offense.
I personally don't think that will happen, but if it does, we have D. Miller, we have Kenyon Rambo, we have a whole host of wide receivers that can go in there and get the job done. So I'm not concerned with that at all. And then, if they really want to take the pass away from us, then they got to look out for the option and hand it off to Pepe and Mike Wiley. I mean, we're loaded. So they got to prepare for us just like we have to prepare for them.
And how are the Buckeyes preparing their defense?
Bottom line, we have to stop the run. They're a team that if they find a play that works, they're going to keep running until you stop it. Reminiscent of what they did to us last year. They found the counter, and they ran it until we stopped it, which we never did. They also have some great receivers and a good quarterback. We're pretty much going to have to play a great football game defensively, and hope offense put some points on the board.
In Columbus, David Thompson for the Big Ten Ticket.
All right, Bo joins me as he always does for a quick comment on this before we get into the meat of the program. If that kind of stuff is not important, what players say, why do coaches put that stuff up in the locker room, huh?
Well, I enjoyed all the historical background of this game, the talk of the players and the coaches. But Don, we're down to the nitty-gritty now. It's what's going to happen out there on that field in the next couple of hours. And this is probably, maybe I shouldn't even say probably, this is one of the biggest games Michigan has ever played, because I can never recall, although I've gone into this game undefeated on many occasions, I was never ranked number 1 in the country. So I think our Michigan team has a great opportunity to really do something today, and I think they're going to be playing so hard that it'll be hard for the Buckeyes to win.
All right, hold that thought. We'll talk about that a little more. We're back with Bo in just a minute to talk more about this game, but that's coming up in the next segment. Take a look down on this stadium as 100,000 are anticipating an incredible game. Michigan and Ohio State. Back with more of the Big Ten Ticket after this. See some tailgating going on outside the stadium there as we're back in Ann Arbor. I'm joined again by Bo. Let's pick up on that last thought. You never came into this game ranked number 1 in the country, and that's why you think, considering the rankings and what's at stake, it's the greatest game in the history of Michigan football.
Right. If the national championship is an important goal to you, then we never had a chance to do that. And this Michigan team does. If they win this game against Ohio State, they'll certainly maintain their number 1 ranking and then go on to the Rose Bowl and see what happens there. But I can't imagine a Michigan-Ohio State game any bigger than this one.
Okay, well, you maintain, and when you were here, and I think to a great extent the coaches still do, that the Rose Bowl is always more important than the national championship. Has maybe the thinking there changed a little bit? If you could get both, great, but...
You read about it every day. I mean, who's number 1? Who's number 1?